Now look here, if you're considering going the self-publishing route, there are a lot of costs that can be involved, and the choices you make are going to directly impact those costs. So you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to go through and break down each and every one of the costs associated with self-publishing. This is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. So in today's video, we're going to look at how much does it cost to self-publish a book in 2023. So how much does it cost? Well, the thing is, there's a number of costs you're going to have to take into account. The first of those is going to be your editing costs. Now, this one in particular can be a bit tricky because there's so many things. You can go to different locations, like full-fledged services that do editing, or you can find freelancers that do editing. The second thing is the type of editing that you're doing. Are we talking about developmental editing or substantive editing? Are they just looking for for grammar mistakes and things like that, or are we looking for a much deeper level of editing on your books? The type of editing is going to drastically impact exactly how much it's going to cost you to do the editing. And so it can range from just a couple $100 up to thousands and thousands of dollars in order to look at your book. And you're going to want to look at different sites. I personally like using either Upwork or Fiverr to do the editing, but just make sure you're going with somebody who's done a lot of these types of jobs and has a top rating on it. The second one is cover design costs, and this can range also quite drastically from around $25 for someone on Fiverr to do your cover, which is someone who I use. You can find below in the description my preferred choice. This is affiliate link for the Fiverr designer that I use for all of my covers, who could also work for you if you're looking for it, or if you want to spend hundreds of dollars, you can do that through many other sites like Upwork, which I've used for a couple of covers, and you can use 99 Designs as another option for you if you're looking for hundreds of dollars for a cover. But I would highly recommend just checking out a $25 cover and see what my cover designer can do for you. She's done a lot of covers for me, I think somewhere in the range of 200 covers altogether for me, and I've really been satisfied with almost all of those covers. The other thing you're going to want to keep in mind is this back and forth, that you're going to want to be able to do it with the covers, and that's something with unlimited revisions makes it very easy. You also need to remember that the cover design, the costs with the cover come into the designer who's doing it, their experience. It's going to also deal with the images that they're using. Do they own the rights to those images? Are these images that they're going to have to pay for themselves in order to do it? And that can have an impact. And then if they're just doing it from complete scratch, which some of mine have been done, where they're literally doing the graphics themselves, not from some other site or anything like that, but going from scratch, well, then you're not going to go under about $100 per cover. So it's important to keep track. If you're going to minimize your cost, think exactly about what types of covers you're going to do. I highly recommend going with covers that look like the best sellers in your specific genre, because your readers are already telling you what they like. So if you take those as your basis and then you send it to a high quality Fiverr designer for $25, you can say, match this cover. Here's my title, subtitle, and your author's name, and you should be pretty much set. Number 3, book formatting costs. This one can vary, and you may think you save a lot of money by hiring somebody on Fiverr, Upwork to do the formatting, and then you're done. The problem is, and this is what I discovered, it was that you may save costs on this front, but at the same time, you're going to need to go back and make changes. As you learn things like building email lists, you're going to put those lead magnets in there. You're going to think, oh, I forgot to have them. I forgot to ask for a review in the book, so you're going to need to make an additional revision. Maybe you find typos in your book, which is so common when you're putting your book out on the market. You suddenly discover, oh, I made a mistake with the book, so I'm going to need to make some additional changes that I hadn't foreseen when I first released the book. Or you come out with additional books and you want links back to your previous books, and so this also plays a role in needing to make the continued changes. Now, you're going to check with different ones, and you'll find that price also varies in what formats you need the book in, whether it's the hardback, the paperback, the ebook, a lot of the PDF, different formats that you're going to be going for. That's going to impact how much you're going to pay that formatter. Now, I personally, of course, recommend learning it yourself because there's so many changes we're going to need to make. Some of these people really don't know how to do it properly, and they're going to give you files that have errors in them. So when you upload them, they're going to be a problem with Amazon, or worse yet, Amazon will accept these books, and then your readers will complain about the unsatisfactory experience they have when reading the ebook version of your book. And that's one of the reasons why I do sell a formatting course, which you can find below, Formatting Made Easy course, in order to go through these steps using the tool Jutoh, which you can find my affiliate link below in the description for this specific formatting tool, which you will have to purchase if you take the formatting course, or just pay a freelancer like I did and just find out the hard way how exactly that can work out for you. But either way is just fine. A lot of this whole self-publishing thing is learning and trying to save money here and then discovering it can actually cost us a lot more money than we expected. The next one is the marketing costs. That's number 4. They can vary depending upon the types of marketing. If you're just looking for somebody to post your book around a lot of different sites, they can probably do that for about $5. If you're looking for somebody to help you with your reviews and all this other stuff and following Amazon's guidelines, that's going to cost you quite a bit more money, like advertising and author events, if they're going to be running all of these marketing things. I personally see that you can learn the advertising, which I just teach my one-on-one clients and my group coaching clients. We just go through exactly how to go about setting up your advertisements. And then I have a course on content marketing that goes into a deep dive on showing you how to get your using content as a way to drive traffic to your book. Or you can pay for people on Upwork or Fiverr in order to do the marketing. But I would definitely make sure, again, that those people have a lot of reviews and you've checked to see that, in fact, they deliver what they're talking about, so that over time you're going to actually see sales where it pays off for itself and you don't just spend a lot of money and really don't see the sales coming in. And this can cost you from $5 at the low end and thousands of dollars. Some people with hybrid publishing, they'll try to charge you $2,000, $1,000 marketing package, for which I would highly recommend try to find somebody who has succeeded with that before you go and do that. And that's one of the reasons why even on my courses, they're $100. And you're going to learn exactly step by step how to do the marketing, how to get these books out onto the market, and we go back and forth in order to ensure you understand the content of the course. And that's one of the big differences. Instead of spending $1,000 for somebody else to do it and then you've lost the money, why not learn how to do it yourself? And for $100, it's very reasonably priced. Makes it really easy just to jump in there, go through the content, we do some interaction, we're going to show you exactly how to implement it yourself. But it's up to you. You need to figure out what works best for you. So, number 5, printing costs. Now, the printing costs can vary, but you got to keep in mind, if you're doing your book on Amazon or Ingram Spark or Lulu, there's really no printing cost per se for you. The person who buys it, they're going to be that additional cost, and that's one of the reasons why you want to have the pricing strategies so it covers that raised price based on the printing costs. And whether that we're dealing with a paperback or the type of paperback and hardcover books are also going to have additional prices. I personally like this 3-point strategy where you have your ebook pricing, your paperback pricing, and your hardcover pricing, giving your reader the ability to choose which of the 3 prices work best for them, and then based upon that they're able to make that choice, and it just gives them this thing. Ultimately, we're trying to sell the paperback one, so you need to make sure you're taking into account the printing costs. The easiest way to do this is just to never ever sell a book that's going to make you less than $5 in royalties, regardless of printing costs. And if you're choosing a bunch of colors and stuff in your book, that's also going to raise the price. Then we have the idea, if you're not talking print on demand, are you literally going to order 1,000 of these books and then fill your garage? I can tell you, I've met many of these authors, and it is very difficult to sell the books. So it's in your best interest to make sure you have the royalty set high enough and go for a print on demand until you see there actually is a demand. If there's no demand, it costs you still nothing because they only print the books when people are ordering them. Number 6, your shipping costs. And that also comes into the whole thing, because some books, if they're shipped locally, about $3. But if they're shipped internationally, it can be $30. And that's one of the reasons I do like Amazon, is they have a large distribution network in terms of the printing areas can be done on different areas of the world, so that when they print out the book, they don't have to ship it so far, holding the costs low. And that comes back again to making sure that your pricing of your book compensates for those shipping costs, unless we're talking about shipping it yourself, which I do not recommend trying to get into that, filling your garage and then trying to ship and keeping track of all these figures. This is a terrible idea. You'll be stuck with tons of books that you will not be able to sell. So 4 things that can affect the cost of your self-publishing book. The first one is your subject matter. Some subject matter is going to require a lot of research for you unless you're already an expert. I recommend highly for you nonfiction people, you know who you are, make sure you're using that if you can. If you're already an expert in the area, then put books out, assuming they're in the profitable niches, as we discussed on other videos how to figure that out. But looking at those keywords, dealing with low ratio keywords where the power ratio is low, like ideally under 100, and for my books I like under 30, and then we see exactly what it's going to take to get these books to sell, and you put it out there, and the fact is if you're a subject matter expert, it's going to cost you a lot less to do the research. Okay. Number 2, the length of your manuscript. Obviously, if it's a longer manuscript, it's going to cost you a lot more money. So what exactly are you going to do with that? Well, the answer is you're going to make sure that the manuscript is not any longer or shorter than it needs to be. How do we know how long it should be? Look at your competition. The books that are targeting your same readers. How long are they? Do not go for books that are 10 times that length or 1/10 of that length. Make sure it's somewhere in the ballpark of the average length for books, because your readers, they're telling you based upon their buying habits the length of the book that it should be. So stick in that length regardless of the cost. And again, you should be making on those paperbacks and hardbacks $5 minimum in royalties, regardless of how long the books are or the pictures that you have in the books or other things like that that can drastically impact the cost of the book. Number 3, whether you choose to sell print books, ebooks, or audiobooks. Now, we've talked about this before. Each of these types of books comes with additional costs. But I'm telling you, if you're using Jutoh, like I tell you all to do all the time, for the formatting, your ebook, paperback, and hardback are all included. This tool is a one-time purchase, and then from that point onward, you're able to use Jutoh to just produce all of the formats. So why not do that? Because then you're not having to pay a bunch of extra money for each of these different formats. Now, the audiobooks can be done for free. We simply take once you have the ebook out, then you can ask ACX Audible to simply take that ebook and turn it into an audiobook. People will compete to narrate the book, and you'll split the revenue, the royalties with them, unless you want to hire a narrator yourself, which I definitely recommend once you've got this other stuff under control. But the cheapest way is just to do it for free. So I definitely recommend you go with that. The next one, point 4, it's that your timeline. So your timeline that you're publishing on. If you're using a really lot of time and over months and months and months, well, obviously the cost of the total book is going to be a lot higher. Now, you may be thinking your time is free, but it really isn't. Your time does cost money to you. You could be doing something else useful that would earn you more money than working on this self-published book. And that's one of the reasons why we need to consider how much time we're using. This is a reason I like to outsource a lot of the things, not the formatting. I hire my own team, bring my own team in-house, and have them do the formatting and also the content marketing for me. But in terms of a lot of these other things, we have other people do it so we can shorten the timeline to get this book on the market and to have it start making us money. So how to reduce your publishing costs. So the next item is compare self-publishing platforms carefully. You'll notice on some of them, which have the print on demand, which is many of them, that you really are going to have the cost be pretty low. I like Amazon personally and Ingram Spark just because of the size of their network. Those two alone pretty much get you most of the distance. Now keep in mind, Lulu is also good for hardcover books, but they charge a lot for these things, right? And the complexity and how difficult it is to follow the instructions for the platform of your choice also needs to be considered when you're doing this process. Number 2, choose ebooks or print on demand. And the reason why this is great is because it doesn't have these additional costs. For the ebooks, they just simply put out there and you're done. It's a digital file that the platform itself will give those people. For the print on demand, there's no ordering thousands of books that will sit in your garage. No. Instead, when somebody places an order, the order is printed, is sent to the printers, and shipped directly to that person. So you don't actually have to think about those additional costs. You just simply pass on. You figure out what the royalty should be. Like I said, $5 minimum unless you're making a lot of sales. Then we change it based upon some secret strategies there. But otherwise, you're going to get those $5 per sale, and we're going to send it on without print on demand. You don't even have to think about the costs. Number 3, barter with other writers for help. Now this one is a fantastic way to save money, because if you're bartering, you're taking what you're good at. Like for example, I'm really good at formatting and content marketing, but I'm not so good at editing. And so you're able to go back and forth with those other authors so that it costs you nothing. You say, I'll format your book and you edit mine. And then you're able to really maximize what other writers are good at in order to save money. But this can take a lot of time, so it also has some of its own costs associated with it that must be considered. So in conclusion, you can see that there are a lot of choices you can make that are going to impact the costs associated with self-publishing. And based upon the way you go this way with freelancers or doing it yourself, you're exchanging money for time, but then there's different quality levels that you have, and some of the platforms are not higher, they're lower quality and will cost you more. That's the reason why it pays to go back and forth and also test a lot of things out. I personally think you definitely would serve yourself by learning how to format the book yourself and do basic content marketing. As you start making more money off these platforms, then you should consider changing your prices and hiring additional people in to continue doing these things that you have been doing and just outsourcing it to them. I do not recommend outsourcing some other things, but at the same time, you can try to do covers yourself, but they're just not going to look good. So it's much better to go with a cheap cover with a person who's really good at it, like Fiverr for $25, and get your cover done professionally, because you're not really going to be able to do it unless you're a graphic designer. You're just not going to see how the colors and the fonts and the shapes and all of these should be going and be done for your specific book. But my question for you is, what have you done to reduce costs on your self-published books? Let me know below in the comments, and check up above me here for more self-publishing answers to your self-publishing questions. Thanks.